Hello there! My name is Brent, and right now I am standing on what will become the American Hotel here at Cerro Gordo. Soon, people from all over the world will be able to congregate and learn more about this historic mining town. But this hotel is missing something. It's missing something very important. It's missing something that I'm willing to fly 1,600 miles to go to try to retrieve and drive 1,600 miles back. And what it is missing is a bar. And not just any bar, but one of the most classic bars of the American West, an original Brunswick bar from the 1800s. That is the journey, so let's get to it.
Push yourself.
So hello, welcome to Cerro Gordo, California. You know, back in the day, there was 4,000 people living here. And the hillsides were just littered with hundreds of buildings. There was a couple hotels, a couple brothels, tons of restaurants, and a lot more. And unfortunately, over the years, most of those buildings have been lost. And most recently, we lost the American Hotel to a fire in 2020. So this is a place that all of the characters from the American West were rumored to go through. You know, this hotel was grand when it opened, and over the years it kind of felt the wear and tear of living up in such a harsh environment. And eventually in the 1990s it got restored. They went back in, they stabilized the hotel, they put up the kind of fabric wallpaper, and they even built a bar. You know, this bar was made of all recycled wood from a neighboring mine. You know, John, the guy who built the bar, is just one of the best craftsmen that I've ever seen in my life. You know, and unfortunately the bar, poker room, everything was lost in this fire in 2020. But we're finally to a very exciting point. We are finally to the point where the first floor of the American Hotel is rough frame, meaning you can finally stand on top of what will be the first floor of the hotel. And to me, one of the most important things in this hotel, one of the most grand pieces, is gonna be the bar. You know, the bar that was originally built in the 90s was so stunning, so beautiful. My plan was always to have that restored how it was, you know, to give that familiar feel for the people who had been in here since that bar was built. That is, until I got a call from my friend Ryan. My friend Ryan owns a bookstore and a vinyl record shop in Austin, Texas. These buildings were built in the 1800s, and inside one half of the building, he has a bar that was also from the 1800s. And this bar isn't just any bar from the 1800s. This bar is a Brunswick bar from the 1800s. And I don't know if you guys know too much about Brunswick, but a Brunswick bar back in the day was a huge deal. John Brunswick came over here from Switzerland. And Brunswick was a master carriage maker back in Switzerland. So he moved here to America and he realized that billiards, you know, pool, was just sweeping the nation. So he very quickly got into building billiards tables, you know, pool tables. And these pool tables would very often find their way into bars, and they became just the thing to have. They basically swept the nation. You know, Abraham Lincoln had Brunswick build him a billiards table for himself. So naturally, as Brunswick was going around the nation, you know, he would spend a lot of time in these bars, and he would get talking to the bar owners. And as he was there, he started discussing how to create just a better environment, period. And so a big part of that was the bar itself. So obviously, that would lead Brunswick by the 1880s to start building bars. You know, they'd have these beautiful columns on them, all sorts of just like wood carvings in them, the likes of which it just weren't in bars at that time. You know, some of these bars would go for $20,000 back in the 1880s. So in today's dollars, that's like $500,000 for these bars that were built in all these saloons. Now, unfortunately, in the early 1900s, Brunswick started hearing rumblings of prohibition. You know, they could kind of see the handwriting on the wall, so to speak. So they stopped making these bars in 1917 or so. And so the idea, once again, of having a Brunswick bar here at the American Hotel just feels amazing. You know, it feels almost too good to be true. But of course, with all things in life, there's a catch. And this catch is a 1,500-mile catch. This bar that we're discussing is sitting in Bastrop, Texas. And so I not only need to get myself to Bastrop, Texas, I then need to get said bar back to Cerro Gordo. So my plan as it stands is this. I'm gonna leave, hopefully today, it's already getting a little late. I'm gonna go to Las Vegas, which is the closest airport. I am then gonna fly from Las Vegas to Austin, Texas, go out to Bastrop, Texas, somehow get the bar out of said building all the way back to Cerro Gordo, California. And along the way, I have to stop at some of the most infamous Western places along the route. My friend Chris is coming with me. Chris is gonna be filming the rest of this so I can kind of focus on just, making this the best possible move that we can. But with that, let's do it. Living out here, the closest airports are pretty much LAX, so Los Angeles, and LAS, which is Las Vegas, both of which are about 200 miles away. So when you think of your airport commute, ours are pretty long, but typically I like to go to Las Vegas. I just think that the drive out there is more beautiful. You get to pass through Death Valley and just see the sand dunes. You get to see all this beauty that is Death Valley National Park. I also find that Las Vegas is just a little bit easier to get through as far as an airport. It's not as crazy as LAX. And also, Chris had never been to Las Vegas in his life, so we had to do, of course, the trip down the strip to give him an idea of, what Las Vegas is all about. All right, so we have the truck. It's way bigger than I guess I imagined, but we had just the best guy here at Cube Smart. I still got to empty my storage unit here. I still have some stuff from when I lived here back in the day. Then we can get out of here. Hey, I even got a subscriber out of this. That was pretty cool. So let's get in. Let's give it a little test drive. I always wanted to be a truck driver. Thanks Dave Sparks for all the experience with the 5-ton. That's gonna come in handy. Now we are headed out to Bastrop, which is about 30 minutes from here. We're headed to Ryan's store, and then tonight in the evening, we kind of have a handyman coming over to devise the plan of how we're gonna get this thing removed tomorrow and get it into the truck. So with that, let's go to Bastrop. So with the truck secured, we started our 30-mile trek from Austin out to Bastrop, Texas. And Bastrop is just this beautiful small Texan town with an amazing historic downtown. And we were headed to Astro Records, which is located right next to the Painted Porch bookstore, both of which are owned by Ryan Holiday. And Ryan is a longtime friend, business partner, and just the generous soul who offered the bar to the town. If you get a chance, I would definitely go out and check out his bookstore. It's super cool what he's done with his space. On the way out, I thought I was pretty good at driving big trucks. I drive the 5-ton around Cerro Gordo quite a bit. But I remember we tried to go to Chipotle, and trying to park this thing was just an absolute nightmare. But eventually we made it, and all was well.
Oh, we finally made it.
We made it? Yeah. It was not without incident, but
you didn't hit my tree, did you?
We clipped the tree. We did some pruning.
So these are the cats from Cerro Gordo. Did you already? Was there a reunion?
Hello. That's our reunion.
Mad at you that you gave it up for adoption.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a better home now.
An authentic Brunswick. So this bar, as far as I know, was originally built for a saloon up the street called the Ironfront Saloon. So it's been here since it was made. It's got to be at least 100 years old, I think. And then the owner who built this building, these have been a million things. This was actually at one point a billiards parlor. It's been a bar. So the owner of this building moved it here like 40 years ago, maybe more.
So this idea of moving bars from establishment to establishment isn't necessarily a new thing. They were moving bars around all the time in the American West, especially if it was a beautiful bar, it was a fancy bar. If a bar went under in one town, you'd pick it up and you'd move it to the next one. And so I felt a little bit, grateful that we were filming it. You know, this bar's had a history for the last 150 years. Hopefully it'll have a history for much longer than another 150 years up here at Cerro Gordo. And so we were actually able to document, you know, this thing moving from Texas to 1,600 miles away to California. So like, we have to get us out of here somehow. You see, Brunswick Company. This was the bar to have back in the day. Ryan has a helper named Braden, and Braden might be young, but Braden has got his stuff together. You know, Braden is a guy that just is a handyman of all sorts. And so going down there with no tools, we were getting some help, and Braden came to rock. All right, so day 2 in Texas began pretty early, and we had a crew. You know, Braden brought out 3 of his friends, and our goal that day was to get this thing unaffixed from the brick wall behind it and load it into our Penske truck. You know, I wanted to hit the road. I was thinking that we were going to go down there, hit the road, get back. You know, we had a certain number of days with this rental truck, so I was trying to waste no time. Can these bear weight or no?
No, they're mostly just to keep it there as handles on the face of it. Just lean it out a little bit, not much. It's so hard because every once in a while, you can do everything possible, and then it's glued or something like that. It doesn't feel like it, but or there's already a crack which is brittle.
Right. You know, we really lucked out where these mirrors actually weren't affixed to the wall behind them. They didn't have that black tar type stuff. Sometimes they stick the mirrors to the back wall. So after a little bit of careful finagling, we got the mirror down, which left the next move.
How do you think this is gonna go?
Perfectly, like everything, yeah. Obviously it'll go perfect.
Wherever I call,
It's the moment of truth. After this, we're home free
and you'll
almost.
pass it in, but you'll
So I remember all of us chipping in ideas, you know, Braden throwing around an idea, all of us kind of like debating, and we ended up getting to this point where I would go up on one ladder, put it on my shoulder, bring the bar down a little bit. We'd have a guy on the far end, or 2 guys, bringing down the other end of this log piece of wood, and somebody in the middle to support it, you know, because we couldn't have it bend in the middle and break. And I gotta say, leading up to that, that was probably my most nerve-wracking moment. I was thinking, this is going to be difficult, this is going to be hard, but we did it. You know, to be honest, it went a lot smoother than I thought it would. We got it down, we got it into the truck, we got it loaded, and I thought I was rocking and rolling. You know, I thought we were gonna get out of Astor before the sun set. And it turns out, of all things, the back bar was the most difficult of all the things to remove. You know, I thought this was different cabinets that were just kind of stuck next to each other, and we could pick up the individual cabinets, throw them in the truck, be on our way. No, once upon a time or somewhere along the way, it seems that they had affixed all these cabinets together. So imagine a 20-foot long cabinet with drawers in it that is very heavy, that cannot be bent because the top of these cabinets is a solid piece of wood, so you don't want that bending and breaking. So, after much debate, that required a trip over to the Tractor Supply. I got a number of furniture dollies, I got a number of ratchet straps, and after some moving around, we got the bar up on its top onto the furniture dollies, ratcheted down, so we essentially had a 20-foot long centipede of a cabinet to get into the Penske truck.
don't let it flex in the middle too much. Lift up on that side, Giovanni.
And just as the sun was kind of setting, we loaded it in the rest of the stuff, and we were set. All right, so everything is inside of the truck finally. It was a hell of a day. It went, you know, a little longer than expected, but very smoothly. Everything's still one piece. Everything is still put back together, which is very exciting. Now we just gotta get it back there, and once it's there, unloaded and figure out how to get up the hill. But step 1, 2, or 3, I'm not sure what step we're on now, complete, and we're gonna get going tomorrow morning.
Starting route to Fort Sumner.
All right, that's our first stop, Fort Sumner, and that is where Billy the Kid is buried and was dead. And so we have 8 hours and 37 minutes. So let's get this bar a little closer to Cerro Gordo. We very quickly learned that this Penske truck is governed, and it is governed at 70 miles per hour on the best of routes, and it is governed and can get up to maybe 50 miles an hour as you're going uphill. So our trip to Fort Sumner was a long one, but along the way I had a lot of time to think of Billy the Kid. If you're not familiar, Billy the Kid is one of the most infamous outlaws of the American West. He is known to have shot 21 people by the time he was 21. He has all sorts of great escapes from prisons. He has all sorts of robberies, holdups, stealing. He is just known for everything you can imagine the American West bandit to be encapsulated within. Eventually, in April of 1881, he got caught. He got tried. He got convicted of the murder of somebody. And in typical Western fashion, he escaped. And I think that escape in 1881 really blew up Billy the Kid to just become folklore, just become a superstar in his own way. So after months on the run, finally in July of 1881, Billy the Kid was shot by the sheriff just near Fort Sumner, New Mexico. And he was buried the very next day. Now, this brings up a lot of conspiracy theories because after Billy the Kid died, over the coming decades, many people claimed to be Billy the Kid. It might have been a guy at a bar, having too many drinks, maybe wanting a free drink, saying, yeah, hey, I was actually Billy the Kid. They shot, killed, identified, and buried him all within a matter of about 24 hours. The people that identified him were ones that were very interested in having this guy dead. Then, secondly, in 1904, the headstones for where Billy the Kid was buried were washed away in a flood. And when the people that buried him were brought back, they all identified different places where they buried Billy the Kid. So obviously they couldn't find the remains of Billy the Kid anymore. These days, there is a headstone that says Billy the Kid, and the Airbnb that we were headed to was just 0.2 miles from where Billy the Kid's final resting place was. If you go to Tombstone, every building is, Big Nose Kate's Bar or Doc Holliday this or Wyatt Earp that, And in Fort Sumner, there is not just the Billy the Kid grave, there's the Billy the Kid Museum, there is another Billy the Kid Museum, and there's the Billy the Kid gift shop, all of which we would visit the next day. But this first day of driving, we arrived in Fort Sumner just at sunset. I was able to greet some horses, hang out, and just kind of soak in the history of the Wild Wild West.
All right, so here's the cemetery. And what I think is interesting is there's so much myth and lore about everything from the West. All the people that claim to be him after he died. And I just feel like that level of mystery, that level of lore is almost lost today, Everything's a Google search away. So these types of mysteries or lore of the West is almost lost on us. We just wrap ourselves in fact and insulate ourselves from any type of magic or mystery. And I think that's part of the reason why I love Cerro Gordo. I love the West. I love stories like, Billy the Kid. It's just because, I don't know, it just leaves you so much to wonder, inspire, disgust, So, Billy, whether you're here, whether you're not here, you've inspired a lot of lore. You've inspired a lot of art and movies. And it's funny that the top of his gravestone says truth and history, when history, especially from back then, was very much fact and fiction mixing together. But for right now, I might just sit here for a little bit, think about past, think about the future, think about myth, think about lore, and all that ties into Cerro Gordo.
Golden, New Mexico is a little bit off Route 66. And the original idea of going there was just to explore. You know, I saw a really cool church online. I thought, hey, let's go there. There's some mining equipment there as well. It seems like it's worth the 40 or so miles off of our route. Getting there, I quickly realized that the church, while very, very cool, you know, I think churches are among the most beautiful buildings that exist in the world, really. That the main attraction of Golden is a guy named Leroy Gonzales, the self-appointed mayor of the whole town.
Yeah.
His honor, the mayor of Golden, Leroy Gonzales.
Yeah, I'm the mayor of Golden. I ran for mayor. Nobody ran against me, so be it.
Hey, there's
you
the
say
mayor.
something long enough, you can become anybody.
Leroy just had that sparkle in his eye that he was excited that you were there. You know, I felt like he would have given this tour whether, you know, we were there, whether nobody was there, whether the camera's on, whether the camera's off. He was just stoked to show us his little piece of the earth.
My history goes back 135 years because I've done the math, and the way I did the math was on the graves. I have people buried in the San Pedro Mounds. I have people buried at the church, and I have them in the Ortiz Mounds on the bottom of the Ortiz Mounds where the grave is. You don't plant them like this.
Yeah.
And I got the gold mine. The gold mine goes all the way back into the San Pedro Mounds, in theory.
In theory.
Yeah, to this day they still mine gold in the San Pedro Mounds.
Yeah.
The biggest nugget ever found in New Mexico was found in the San Pedro Mounds. It weighed 22 ounces. It was shaped like a boot.
Whoa.
It is in a museum in Denver.
Okay.
Okay, I tattooed my tree.
Yeah.
This is a cantina. The cantina I made it the late 1800s. I made the face of it in a dead of winter.
Yeah.
I made it for you, for the people.
Heck yeah.
And then I made the whole thing. Come in, everything is safe, no worries. This is my museum.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, check it out, bro. I know, it is liberal. And the other thing is, they don't have much light. But you know what? When your eyes have to adjust to something, not the sun,
Yeah.
like this, it helps them, bro. This is my swing. You can swing on it.
Yeah.
This is a steel table.
Yeah.
It will not break.
Can I swing on it?
Yeah, go ahead. I know how already he's gonna do it. No, I'm not gonna. Oh, cool, bro. Old school. Go ahead, home. Push yourself. Well, I'll push you. Okay, go ahead. There you go. It's nice when you defy gravity.
Yeah. You got a golf course?
There's my golf course, as you can see. My golf club, my golf ball, and the hole-in-one.
Ah.
I hardly ever miss a shot.
Yeah.
For the simple reason is because Tiger Woods didn't make it. This is my psychiatrist's couch.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, you can sit down, you can lay down, you can stand on your head. Together we will probe into your problem and we will persevere. Wait a minute, time's up. $200. I'll see you tomorrow. If you want to write something down, you're more than welcome to. This is an historical landmark.
Yeah, hell
Yeah. Yeah.
Y'all
And
sign
that
in there?
proves it, home.
I'll sign in, yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate the more you write, the better. I won't read it. Let me rephrase that. I won't read it right away because I already talked to you. Later on, I'll go see. Let's see what those cool dudes left. Oh no, I'll just say, let's go see what those dudes left. After I'll read it, then I'll say if they're cool or not. No.
That's you in 10 years, man.
Hell yes. If you're anywhere near Golden, New Mexico, I do recommend reaching out to Leroy. He did leave his mailing address. He says he loves getting mail. So maybe shoot him a note card or something like that too. But Leroy Gonzales was really the highlight of Golden, New Mexico for me. And after that, it was time to hit the road. So one thing I've been having a lot of fun with over the last few months is this week's sponsor, Bespoke Post. Bespoke Post is a monthly membership program that sends you one box of awesome each month. And each box contains top shelf goods from these under the radar brands. You know, every month they send you cool things to help you discover whatever your passions might be. You know, for me, I know that I've discovered a lot of my new outdoor gear from a Bespoke box, and it's amazing. You know, each box contains about $70 in value, but you're only paying a fraction of that. And 90% of the products in these boxes are manufactured right here in the United States. What I think is really cool about the boxes is just you pay what you want. You know, every month you're gonna get a preview of what's coming in your box of awesome. And you basically have 3 choices. You can, 1, you can keep it. 2, you can kind of swap out the items within it and for something else. Or 3, you can just skip that month. You know, they're gonna change the box lineup every month. And if you skip it, you're not gonna pay for it. So if you're interested and you wanna start getting boxes like this every single month, all you have to do is fill out the questionnaire. You know, the questionnaire is gonna ask you things like, you know, are you into drinking? Are you into style? Are you into home decor? Are you into the outdoors? And they're gonna customize the box selection for you each month. And for anybody watching this video, they're gonna give 20% off your first box of awesome. All you have to do is go to bespokepost.com/ghosttown20, or simply just go to the link in the bio below and enter ghosttown20 at checkout, and they're giving you 20% off. I hope you guys check it out. It's been a ton of fun for me. It supports the town, and it's just amazing products all throughout it. The goal for that day was to get to Sedona, Arizona. And Sedona was a place I've never been to in my life. But as the sun went down, you know, we still weren't quite in Sedona. And that is when some interesting things started. The highway into Sedona, if you've never been there, is very twisty, very turny. And at night, it is a very bit anxiety inducing if you're in a 26-foot box truck. And so as we were twisting and turning, you know, what seemed like forever, I could tell that we were dropping into a beautiful valley. You know, we'd get glimpses out of the headlights or glimpses from a house in the distance, but you could tell you were going into something special. And by the time we got to the house that we had, there was no way to see very much, but I could just kind of see the outline of some cliffs in the moonlight. And so Chris and I passed out, really excited to get up the next day and see what Sedona was all about.
All right, the truck made it to Sedona, and the spot we got in Sedona is about as picturesque as it can get. So, let's take a little hike.
So waking up in Sedona was going to be our final day of driving. The goal was to go 500 miles from Sedona to Keeler, California, to get it finally back here. But before we started doing that, we just took the morning just to explore. You know, Sedona is just beautiful with its red and orange cliffs and its kind of juniper forests that just seem to go forever. So as we departed, I was finally able to see this road that as we were coming in was lost to me in the dark. And seeing the road during the day didn't make it that much more comfortable than it was at night, to be honest with you. And a 26-foot box truck, it took us quite a while to get on out of there, but finally we were out and we hit the open road. All right, it's, I don't know what time, but just arrived back in Keeler. The bar is now in Cerro Gordo vicinity. Tonight, we sleep, but early tomorrow, try to figure out how to get this bar safely up the hill, which is gonna be a battle. But here we are in Keeler, California, a long way from Bastrop, Texas, probably 1,600 miles or so. This bar is about to go to its hopefully forever home. So for now, I'm gonna get some rest. Chris and I passed out very quickly, but with one rather big step left of getting the bar up the 8-mile dirt road all the way to Cerro Gordo. All right, so the stage is set. We've come 1,600 miles all the way from Bastrop, Texas. Bar is still intact. Mirrors are safely loaded in Keeler. There's only one final task, and that task is getting this truck up a 8-mile dirt road that's not in the best shape. We're so close yet so far. I guess then we have to unload it too, which is a whole other thing. But for right now, we need to get this thing up there. Let's give it a shot. So the final journey of this bar's trek from Texas back to Cerro Gordo was once again our road. Our road, an 8-mile dirt road where you go from about 3,000 feet in elevation to about 82 or 8,300 feet in elevation, is the kind of most difficult part of everything related to this town. We're gonna be taking it real slow. This might be a solid hour up the road, maybe more. Probably a slowest trip up the hill. I've come up the hill with a lot of different things, a 5-ton block. I don't like the bumps, but you need to get the bar up. I gotta say, this thing did good. You know, the Penske 26-footer really did the trick. I have to say it went pretty much without a hitch. And so we arrived in town, and once we got here, then our final step was two things. One, where are we gonna put this bar? And two, how are we gonna get it out? You know, it made it this far safe. How do we get it out safe? After a little bit of debate, we decided that the church was probably the best place to store this thing. You know, we wanted somewhere out of the elements. It wasn't quite ready to put it into the hotel yet. You know, we're not at that phase, but we needed it somewhere out of the elements, but maybe still accessible, still somewhat close to the hotel. You know, we laid out some plywood so we could move our giant centipede of a kind of cabinet around, and we got it down. You know, luckily that day there was a lot of volunteers here around Cerro Gordo, so we all kind of chipped in, and I'm very happy to say right now, the Brunswick Bar from the 1800s that was just in Bastrop, Texas, is now safely here at Cerro Gordo, and I'm stoked. Bar is unloaded, bar is in here, bar's not in the hotel. It's a different video, but bar is safely inside the church and protected. As you can see here, I can just come in here at night and practice my bar slides. This bar will be inside the American Hotel. All right, so that is it. The Brunswick Bar is back in Cerro Gordo, 1,600 miles from where it began. And I gotta say, just running my hand over it just gets me so excited. You know, to have the story of this bar be part of the story of the hotel is just so cool. You know, for so long we were working on engineering and architecture and permits and all these things, but now the bar is here. The next batch of wood has arrived. We're framing the walls of the first floor of the hotel. You know, finally, I can think about the things that are gonna go inside of the hotel, which I think is important. You know, it's important to have intention. It's important to have story. I want, when you walk into the hotel, for every piece in there to feel like it belongs in there. You know, that it was put there intentionally, that it has a story to it. You know, we all love stories. We all love looking around and understanding why everything is there. And I think that this bar is such a centerpiece to that. It just gets me so riled up, you know, and the fact that we were able to capture its story is amazing. You know, I can only imagine how many people are gonna be able to sit around this, tell stories, and just have an amazing time for many years to come. And so with that, I just wanna say thank you guys so much. You know, this has truly been an amazing 3 years, you know, and the fact that this hotel is even happening is thanks in so much to everybody watching this channel. You know, your support and every way that that means has meant everything to me. You know, it's made it come alive. It's so exciting to see people that are so excited about preserving history. You know, about a bar from 150 years ago. So I just want to say thank you all so much for following along on this journey. Who knows what the next few months will hold, but all I know is that the walls of the hotel are going up, and that's very exciting, and it's very much a part to all of you guys. But until next time, that's it. Thank you all so much. Hope you can come up here one time to Cerro Gordo, see this bar, see the hotel, and have a great week.